Do you require any graphic design work done? A North London agency full of Gooners. Oh, and one lonely Watford fan. We'll be happy to help. Go to www.stonecreativedesign.com and mention Gooner Ramble for a 10% discount on your first project.
Hello and welcome to another edition of the Gooner Ramble podcast. I'm your host Giles, and joining me as always is the man with the dulcet tones, everyone's favourite pundit. No, it's not Was. It's Clive. How you doing, mate? You alright?
I'm sure Was will like that when he listens to this on holiday. He's going to love that intro. It's going to make him drop his cocktails. Alright, cheers, mate.
You're right, good stuff. And once again, I'm glad to have him back on the show. It's the one and only Geoff Arsenal. How are you doing, sir? You right?
Yeah, I'm very well, thank you.
All things considered, eh?
No, all things considered. Nice to be back. It's been a while, but
it's been a minute,
thanks for inviting me back on again.
No problem. All right, let's look. Without further ado, fellas, let's talk about Arsenal and basically on the back of the exit of the League Cup. I just want to ask you guys about Arsenal's priorities, because a lot of the fallout on the back of that defeat on social media, on all types of social media, basically has been, what are Arsenal's priorities and how much importance does Wenger place on the League Cup? I mean, every year he likes to blood the youngsters and whatnot, and this year, the first two games, brilliant. They look really good, and then obviously now against Southampton, they've come a cropper. It was one step too far. But when you compare it to someone like Mourinho, who puts out a really strong team, and he always takes each and every competition, as he says, seriously, he wants to win it. You makes you wonder, are we just in it to blood the youngsters and bring them through, or is it a competition that we really should be looking to win? And also, how does it affect or impact the other three competitions that we really want to win, or should I say really the big two, the Champions League and the League? So I want to start with you, Geoff, as our guest. Give us your thoughts on it.
Yeah, well, the priorities, I think, are the same as what they've been for the last 20 years. I think it's the Premier League, the Champions League, the FA Cup, and then lastly, the League Cup, or whatever it's called now. And we've seen that over the number of years, because he's always put a team out that's been light, so to speak, and spotted with not youth team players, but second string players, we'll call it. Although we would have thought that our second string side should be enough to defeat a Southampton team, but as you know, it's always very, very difficult. The early games we more or less breezed through them, but the later you get into the rounds, the more tougher the opponent gets. And Southampton, they're a good side, and they come there last night, and they were set up really, really well. They were set up better than us, I think. We looked just all over the place. They was more organised. They was more balanced. They was relinquishing the play to us. They didn't want the ball. They just wanted Arsenal to have most of the play, and they knew they had a game plan. They've seemed to have cottoned on what the likes of Chelsea and Manchester United have cottoned on over the past few years. They let us have the ball, and when the turnover comes, they'll just pump it forward, try and knock it in the hole, cause us trouble. Someone like Shane Long up there is a willing runner, and he'll do his best to get on the end of it, and they'll see what comes of that. But whilst they're doing that, they still won't venture too far forward. They won't send 4, 5, 6 men running forward. They'll only let 1 or 2 go up. So they've always got that 7 or 8 men behind the ball if it breaks down again. And they'll just see what will happen. And, exactly what happened last night. They broke away, scored 2 goals. Our ambition is to win every single competition that we go into. I don't buy it that people don't think that, and I do honestly believe that he put a team out there last night that he thought was capable of beating Southampton, and I totally agree. I mean, I don't know what you think, Clive.
Yeah, I think maybe the Southampton game was lost in the last minute of the Bournemouth game when Giroud went down with injury, because I think Giroud was scheduled to play last night, and as soon as you saw the team announced before the game, I just looked at it and thought, I can't see any goals. I just couldn't see any goals, and I actually said before the game, this is going to be a pass, Arsenal. Pass. Academy football. Nice shadow play, nice patterns. When it comes to it, there's no penetration. And all that does to a team like Southampton, who are very well structured. Don't forget that in the league game, we just about squeezed it 2-1, penalty last minute. We barely deserved that, and that was with our full strength team. They play a diamond in midfield, and they are very, very strong and very well organised. And they're going to do well this season, right? So I think you take out our sort of main forwards like Walker, Ozil, and Sanchez, and you're playing a similar back four, because Southampton made changes, but their back four was quite strong. It's always going to be very tough for us, right? So I do think it was a challenge to break them down, even on their best day. But Wenger's always looked at his trophies in a different way, and he was the one that started the rotation. He was ahead of his time with that, and lots of other managers have done it. But I look back at 2007, the League Cup final then. I looked at our defenders that day. We had Justin Hoyt, we had Senderos, we had Toure, and we had Armand Traore at the back against Drogba, Ballack, the lot of them at Chelsea, and we lost the game. He played those type of young, inexperienced players at the time. Had a 17-year-old Theo Walcott, by the way, in the 2007 final. So that tells you what he's been doing for the last few years. He just does not see it as a major trophy. So it's quite interesting seeing some reaction online and on various videos, the surprise and the shock and the vitriol. Well, I'm thinking to myself, well, why are you surprised that the club never really pushed it into the semi-final stage? Because you play a two-leg semi-final at a critical time of the season, which completely disrupts you. I don't know why people are surprised, really. I mean, it's part of what he's always done. Now, I'm a pretty relaxed guy, and so I don't get too stressed about these things, but some people really, really do, and I sort of trying to understand that. But if you look a little bit more analytically and look at what he's done historically, he's never gone too far in his competition, had some bad luck. And,
but Clive, can I just interject?
Disagree. I don't disagree. That's how I would do
Okay.
it. The way he's done it, I've been brainwashed, maybe, but I'm not gonna get too upset about it.
So, but Clive, people would say, well, why isn't it time that he should take? Why doesn't he start taking that competition seriously? When you get to the quarters, the finals of any major domestic or European competition, that's when you should start raising your hopes and backing up your expectations. I know. You said that we didn't play our main three, but Southampton also made 8 changes to their lineup.
Yeah, but to be fair to them, Southampton, they've been rotating in the Europa Cup as well. And what they've done, because that's a lower cup competition, they've had 2 sides. They've almost been playing 2 sides, one for the league and one for the Europa Cup.
Like what Tottenham did last year.
Yeah, so their rotation was known to them. So when we rotate, we're rotating to a completely new side, right? So because our European games are real, right? So we can't just turn up and lose them. And they've lost a couple and drawn a couple, right? So they've had a strong rotation, a constant rotation. And yeah, they had a better side out than us on the day. They had a better balanced side out than us. And they didn't win that game, luckily. They won it well, right? 2-0 was a fair reflection of the result. You could say it could have been more, right? So, would I do it? Yeah, maybe I've been brainwashed. But there are lots of people who don't think that way, G, and I accept that. Lots of people think we should win every single game we go into. But I'm not one of those, right? So, I'd much prefer to win at West Ham on Saturday, right? If you want to have Alexis playing this game to a hamstring, then that's not for me, but some people would rather that.
See, that's the thing. I mean, people do, they complain. I saw it last night. It's just, I find it quite amusing, that they cause so much, to create so much fuss over a cup. That is worth winning. Of course it is. I believe it's worth winning. But, they they slagged the FA Cup and when we won that, but then they're quite happy to moan and bollock and use it with a stick to just beat the club if we get knocked out by a team like Southampton. Southampton are a good side. I've said that. I think they're a really, really good side. They've got some great players. And, our last 8 games with Southampton, we've won 2, drawn 2 and lost 4. That tells you that they're a strong
side.
They're strong. They've found a way to work us, you know. And like I say, and the setup was good, and you were absolutely 100% right. They came and they was well worthy of the 2-0 win. I mean, they got a little bit fortunate, some of the times where we had a few chances late on, but that's the name of the game. And when you set up like that, it's much easier to set up a side to defend like that. If you're well drilled, you're well organised, which they definitely are. There was, this Puel, whatever chap's name is, he's just continued on from Koeman and the chap before him. They're very, very well drilled. Then each and every one of them knows exactly what they're doing. Even the youngsters that come in, they say they look good. And we found it difficult to break down. They were sending us. We didn't really have any forwards.
We had no speed, Geoff, did we?
No, well, they were sending us out wide, and they knew if they sent us out wide, we didn't have no attacking threat. There was no proper wingers out there. We haven't got no natural width. It seemed like we had a load of players that wanted to play centre midfield. Ramsey was dropping deep, and they was just all dropping deep. Iwobi was coming inside, and Geoff Adelaide, he was coming inside, and there weren't no shape. So when the ball got busted, when the ball broke down, everyone's out of position. The difference is, like I say, when we had the ball, we was trying to get behind them. They had 7, 8, 10 players behind the ball. When they broke on us, we had 3 players. It was on us every single time. And quite clearly, it could have been more. And it's a shame.
Dysfunctionality. Some people would say, just before we move on, I don't want to really labour this on this subject too long, but some people would say, look, okay, yeah, we've got through to the Champions League last 16, and that's all that counts, really. We can do whatever we want now. Whether we progress in the League Cup or not is of no concern to those to the Wenger lovers, if you want. Seems to be the argument coming from those that are less than pleased with our exit. Do you think they have a point in that? We are probably putting our eggs into. We're sort of like.
We've always done it though, G, haven't we? We've always done this. This isn't new. Right? This isn't new. It's upsetting. I don't like losing at home in a cup game. When we lost at home to Watford last year, it wasn't great. But that was the FA Cup, right? And he's got a good record in that, and you can't say he's never focused on that competition. But the League Cup, I mean, we've got to a final, twice in his reign? In 20 years? Right? And he's never won it. He's not worried. So, but I know what? That's how I feel. And lots of people, and I did listen to someone today who made a great point. There's a lot of new fans in that ground yesterday. £10 touch into the ground. Lots of new fans, the next generation to get hooked onto Arsenal, and then we go out there and do that. Sometimes your first memory can be the one that dictates how much you love the club, right? So yeah, there is that to think about. But yeah, there's another memory in 3 days' time, and that's the one we got. That's one I care about more than anything. But I don't expect him to change. And he had a couple of injuries in forward areas that's a couple of sort of players who've been overplayed in forward areas. And for me, the difference is your forwards. We just had no forwards to hurt them. We had no speed to hurt them. And if you are looking for a worrying sign about the team, is our lack of speed in some of our players, not just up front, but in centre midfield. I felt they ran us. They outran us. They looked more physical than us. We had a couple of youngsters out there, but only a couple of youngsters. Okay, we have one sick player. But, we have got issues when we don't play fast, and I think that's something for the senior players as well, by the way. When we play slow, we don't look very effective at all.
That's what I wanted to come on to that. Go on, Geoff.
I think that our problem lies in the centre of the park as well as up front as well. I mean, you got 3 players there: Elneny, Xhaka, and Coquelin. They're all very, very similar, and they're comfortable. They keep the ball. They just keep the ball. They'll keep the ball moving along quite nicely. but they're not that type of player that would burst into the final third and dribble and run at the two centre halves. That's what causes the trouble. That's what causes the most trouble from panic for defenders. And those three guys, they're not that type of guy. And we didn't really have anyone on the pitch last night, apart from Alex Iwobi, who had a go. But, you know, once he comes inside, he's dragging the full back in with him, and the wide right player might come in, and they're all going to be compact. It's difficult. And those three players there, they are all very similar in what they do. I believe Xhaka's a better passer out of the three of them. I think it was quite evident when he come on, you know. Straight away he was trying to slip the ball in between the lines, and it worked on a few occasions, and we started playing better. But El Neni and Coquelin, they'll do a job, but they're not, you know, it's
not progressive.
They're not dynamic enough to really, they're great. They're okay defensively, but when you're playing against a team that's going to defend like Southampton did last night, sometimes you need a little spark. Maybe I thought he should have brought the Ox on and played him in centre midfield.
Yeah.
So because when the Ox gets it, he will run at you. He's very direct. He's dynamic, and it just causes all kinds of fuss, and it's a shame.
I noticed, Geoff, you like players that don't just dribble for the sake of it, but actually dribble with a penetrative effect. People that cause anxiety in the defence. People like Alexis. I remember last season you said you want to see him up front because he can cause that kind of angst in defence. Rosicky, yeah, all those kind of guys, the guys that sort of dribble with a spear in their hand, if you want.
You ask any centre half, right, and they will tell you the worst thing that can happen to them is you get a nippy player, plenty of pace, who's got a trick, running at them, full pelt, and they're running back towards their own goal. It's the worst thing in the world for them, and it causes all kinds of panic. Because whilst that player's running towards you, your fullback don't know what you're going to do. Your two fullbacks, they don't really know what you're going to do. You don't know, and it creates space and creates chaos for everyone. And that's when you make mistakes, and mistakes win games. And we didn't have that last night. We didn't have no penetration really. That was the problem.
I tell you what, I wonder. I've been looking ever since you could say possibly the Chelsea game. Definitely since Santi Cazorla went down lame after the first leg of the Ludogorets game. That midfield axis there, it's been troublesome. It's been extremely troublesome. We haven't found a combo that really works effectively yet. And what we've found is teams have cottoned onto it and they're overrunning us in that department, which is causing all kinds of anxieties in other parts of the field. I mean, we just defensively in reverse, we seem to be at some point 6s and 7s, and then again on the ball we don't really seem to be clicking as much. Clive, what do you put that down to? I mean, how can we, instead of just like talking about the problem, in your opinion, where does the solution lie?
You know what? Start of the year, I was looking, because we had so many centre mids, I was really interested to see which two would play. Right? And we all know that Ozil's going to play 10. And so we were thinking, which two is it going to be? So we got our 35 million quid new signing. We're thinking, well, he's going to be one. Who's going to be his partner? Right? And we tried various combinations. I think we tried nearly all of them apart from Ramsey and Xhaka for a full game. And, there's been a couple of successful ones, but I started to look at it slightly differently in the last couple of weeks or so. I don't actually think it's just about that too. I actually think it's what we do on the left, and it's what we do at centre forward, and then what we do and what's happened to Mesut Ozil, right? So Mesut Ozil of last season was a stick on number 10. If you look at him now, you look at his Daffy position map, he is playing like a number 9. He is running through and past Alexis. So that means he's nowhere near connected to the middle two. He's scoring more goals, he's assisting less, but he's far more dangerous. He's running through lines, and I really like him. I really like this version of Ozil. But it puts a lot of onus on our midfield too. And that, for me, changes the balance of our midfield too. And I think they have to be a little bit more circumspect how they play. So if we play Ox on the left, we know his best attributes is not defensively. He's improving, but it's not his best attributes. He's go forward. We've got Theo on the right, who's improved about 1,000% this year defensively, but we still don't want to, put our mortgage on him to defend, right? So, and we've got Ozil dashing past Alexis and Alexis coming. They're almost changing positions. So that to me tells me that the midfield two needs to be the midfield two. And the best two I've seen when in this new Arsenal with Ozil bursting on has been Xhaka and El Neni. And not because they set the world alight, but because they both do the left side, the right side. They facilitate the ball to the front four to go and do their things. They're really disciplined. They never play more than 10 feet apart. They're always available for each other to get the ball out of difficult situations. And they're both quite physical. Xhaka can pass, and then his passing is far more conservative. So that to me has been the best two. Now, I often wondered if that was always going to be the two. And when you're a player in dressing room, the first thing you do when new signings come in, you look at the length of their contracts. You look at their ages. They're both 23. They've both got 5-year contracts. So I'm looking at other midfielders. I'm looking at Ramsey, who ends in 2018. Jack ends in 2018. Oxlade-Chamberlain ends in 2018. They've got it all to do to say, oh, am I going to sign on again? And these two have been given 5-year contracts, 23 years of age, both 6-footers, both come from a Swiss background. This could be the future, depending on what he does with the front four. Now, the way Ozil's playing right now, you know my thoughts, Stu. We touched on it last week, whether we go diamond or whether we go 4-3-3. Ozil's playing so high now. Do we need another midfielder in so we can compete with these teams who are overrunning us in centre mid? And I'm not against that. And I'm not against having 3 centre mids in and having 3 higher and tweaking the system slightly, because we're more or less doing it anyway, but we're not doing it in a defined way, and we're getting run past. You know, I watched last night, Stephen Davis and Classy just skip past Ramsey on the retreat. Ramsey thinking, well, I'm sort of playing 10, but am I? Do I need to go and do this tackle? Skip, shot, goal, 2-0 down, right? So we've got to decide how we're going to structure ourselves. So the way we're developing, I've developed my thought process to see us with 2 more, you know, like a Gilberto Vieira type, 2 twin towers in centre mid that control that area. They do 1.5 jobs to allow Ozil to be lazy, allow Theo to be lazy, and allow Alexis to be a little bit lazy and go and do their damage up the top end.
Geoff?
Yeah, I mean, there's no secret in knowing that we've struggled again this season since we've lost Santi Cazorla. I think we'd have won the league last season if we'd have kept him in play and in form and fit and healthy. I think he makes us tick. He's you know, it's left foot, right foot. He can, you know, even when you're under the high pressure, he's the man to get you out of that. And as soon as you break through that press, you know, he's got the ability to run forward with the ball and pick a pass out. And again, in the final third, he's very tricky. He's very intricate. When you can play left foot and right foot, you can receive on both foot. It opens up the pitch for you. And I think we've missed him again very, very badly, same as what we did last season. And that is another reason why I mean, our midfield has looked quite mediocre.
Yeah.
The last 6 or 7 games, and Clive was right. We're struggling to find a decent pairing, and he's tried all different pairs, isn't he? I mean, I'm a little bit concerned about where Rambo fits into this. Obviously, the gaffer, he thinks the kid's got a bright future. He has got all the attributes. His engine is phenomenal. He's good on the ball. Again, he's got flicks and tricks, and he's accurate. He's got a great shot. All the stuff that you'd think would be perfect for that type of midfielder, because he's got it all. But at the minute, he looks a little bit void of confidence. He tries and he does. He still wants the ball, but you know, if it's not running for him, you know what it's like as a player. You start doubting yourself, and you need an extra touch instead of just pinging it off. And at the end of the day, Wenger has got to find a solution from somewhere, because you know times we're getting into the nitty gritty now. We're into Christmas, all them Christmas games. They come thick and fast, and you only need a couple of defeats, and you're out of the title race.
Geoff, you've touched on Santi there. Do you think? I mean, we've not seen a lot of him this season. He started like he was playing this season. He was playing like 3 games a week, and then he got the Achilles during the Ludogorets game, and we haven't seen him since. We was hoping that he'll be back in the near future. Now we've got the news that he's out for another 3 months. I mean, he is our Achilles now, isn't he? I mean, his absence has now become our Achilles heel, and we're trying to find ways of adapting to life without him. Do you think that Wenger has brought in Xhaka to sort of maybe take over the mantle from Santi, not do what Santi does, but sort of take over the mantle to be the sort of the first receiver, the guy that sort of like builds things around him and take it on in a different fashion? Or do you still think either Santi's got something, he's still got something to give Arsenal, even though his contract is finishing at the end of the season? Or do you think that Jack being away, getting his minutes at Bournemouth could be the answer to that?
It's a good point. It's a very, very good point. I think if we can keep Jack fit and healthy and playing, 35 games a season, I think he's definitely going to be could be the answer, because his undoubted ability. There's no doubt about that. He's a fantastic footballer, but it's just getting him on the pitch to express himself. Xhaka, I think he was always going to be that defensive type, deep lying type midfielder that he's more of a defender rather than an offensive footballer. We do miss Santi, and I do honestly think he's still got a role to play at Arsenal. It's keeping the man fit. He's I don't know how was he 33 now, 33, 34 maybe.
33. Yeah, do you think he's going to? I mean, this go on, Geoff.
He's only 31, mate. He's not that old, right?
Oh, okay.
I apologise to Santi.
They're all young. They're all young compared to me anyway. But
before you come back, Clive, I mean, Geoff, do you see this as being his final season? I mean, 2017, he's not getting the minutes anymore. He's putting up lane quite often. Is there a decision to be made come January about him?
I just think he's such a fantastic footballer that you've got to try and keep him. If you believe you can get him fit and keep on giving him a run of games, then you've got to try and hold on. But obviously they've assessed this injury. I mean, we were speaking last week on the BW podcast, and we have that a good lad, Aussie Dom, and he's a physio, top physio, and he was running it by the injury, and it's something that what they would. I mean, I see the outcry today. Well, how's it taken him 4 weeks now, or 3 weeks, however long it's been out, and now they've got to go. Yeah, and he was telling me that this Achilles, you've got to let the inflammation go down first, and give him a 3-4 week rest, and then
it's not something you can rush, is it?
No, you try and start him again. And if you start him again, it either works or it doesn't. It can come back. You never know. And obviously I'm only guessing that's what's happened. They've tried to bring him back. And because they try not to operate nowadays, especially a man of that age. It's an operation. It's going to take, as we know, 5-6 months to come back or whatever. At that kind of part of your career, and you don't know what the healing's going to be like. It takes longer to heal. So they try and avoid operations on everything now, knees, everything. But it's a shame. But whether you're going to keep him fit or not, I mean, I love him. I think he's a fantastic footballer. I really do.
Clive, you said whilst we were off here that he'd gone over to, is it Spain or somewhere, and now they could have recommended that he goes to Sweden for the surgery. Do you think this could be his last season, or do you think that Wenger might do a Rosicky and just sort of like, keep him on, give him that, invoke some sort of, I don't know, automatic 1 year extension? I don't know if that's built into his contract or not, but can you see maybe Wenger's thinking, well, he's still got something to give despite this injury?
See, I think what we got to do, we did it in years gone by, right? So remember we used to wait for Diaby, didn't we? We used to wait for him. But what we used to do is that we used to hope he's going to be fit and not really buy that player for the squad, right? And then when he wasn't fit, we'd all be gutted, right? And we'd fall away. I think Santi's such a unique footballer, such a unique character. There isn't many players like him. We saw that Verratti the other day for PSG. He's probably the closest I've seen to Santi Cazorla for years, right? So he's totally unique. The way he's reinvented himself as a deep line player, the way he makes other people look so good. Those sort of people are special in football teams. And, for me, I would do everything in my power for a 31-year-old to get him back to health to bring him into the squad and to be part of the squad, right? And so Arsenal plays 60 plus games a season. There's got to be a few games for him. I have to say, I've got to criticise the manager. To be fair, there was a few games at the start of the season when he was playing Saturday, Tuesday, Saturday, and he didn't need to. He didn't need to, because for the first time ever, we had so many options that he could have just eased it a little bit. Maybe this is an injury waiting to happen, and you're absolutely right, Geoff. I don't like putting people under the knife. But to the fan on the outside, we're thinking, well, this has been happening for 6 months, and finally he's had an op. But what they don't realise is that they don't want to do an op. And then we sort of question, and I do it too, we question the diagnosis skills of the teams at Arsenal. And we say, well, you should have done this straight away and you'd be back by now. But that's also not always the right thing. And you have an operation, you can go wrong, and the healing goes wrong, and suddenly you're out for longer. So you can't win. You try to do it the humane way, and you get killed for not doing it sooner. And of course, now it's in the full part of the season, and we're going to lose him in the critical period over Christmas, etc. But I don't think with Xhaka, if he stays fit, I think he is an actual replacement for him. He's a different type of player, but he is that person who can build the play. But my worry is, he's like the only one. There is no one else that can build the play from deep in midfield. It's not Ramsey's strength. And then he can stand in a position, but he's quite conservative. Coquelin is more of a presser, and he goes and gets the ball, and he wins the ball higher up. He's not going to build the play from deep. So this is Xhaka has suddenly gone from, we're not sure why he's not starting, to, in my opinion, one of the most critical players in our team. Right? And, cause no one else can do what he can do. And he's, I don't like using these technical phrases, but vertical passing through the lines, he does it better than anybody at the moment, apart from Santi, who's lost for 3 to 4 months.
What's your take on Rambo? How does he fit in the team, if he fits in the team?
Well, this should be good, Geoff. Strap yourself in.
Here we go. Well, look, right, I really, there's a guy on this podcast, like Geoff called Woz, and we get on really well, and Woz loves Rambo.
I do listen.
Yeah, Woz loves him. He loves him, right? And because he loves him, and I really respect his football views, I've really tried to open my mind up to him. Right? So, and we have a different view of what he is. Woz thinks he should be playing with Xhaka, and he should be part of a midfield too. I've watched him for 8 years now, and he has got some attributes. So he's got a great engine. He's got a powerful shot on his right foot. He's quite creative when he's on form. He's a bit of a risky footballer. He's not a secure footballer, and he's not somebody that, in my opinion, that really facilitates for others. He's somebody that sees opportunities for himself and he takes them. Right, so, and I have a different view on how I see centre midfield being played. But when I see him at the moment, I think it's a massive issue with him. I think athletically, he maybe have a great engine, but I don't think he's very fast. He's not the only one from that regard, and I'm saying that.
True. Yeah, you're right.
I think people skip him. I think they skip past him, which is a problem. If you're going to be one of our midfield two, you've got to be secure defensively. You've got to be secure on the ball. Yeah. And so that's a key thing for us. You're our platform. I actually think he's a third midfielder in a 3. And I think if he's a third midfielder with less positional responsibility, I think he could be sensational. Right? So, and the way Wales play him, they say to him, you do what you like. You're like a second number 10. You're not a number 10. You're one of 2 number 10s behind the centre forward in a 4. They play a 3-4-3. So he's one of the 3 up front. Or they play a 4-3-2-1, and he's one of the 2 behind the 1. Right? So at no time do they play him instead of Joe Allen or Joe Ledley. They don't. They've always got those 2 behind him. Always. Always. So why are we deciding to put him as one of our 2? It just doesn't make sense. He just does not do it. So people now, they get confused. They think, well, I agree with Woz on this. I don't think Ramsey is a 10. I think he's a third midfielder. He's what I call an 8.5. He's a third midfielder. He's somebody that sees things really quickly. So I've really, because I respect Woz so much, I've really tried to look at his attributes and think, well, actually, the way he tracks himself into the box is unbelievable. He's untrackable. He sees things really quickly. He's got early shots. But when he's in centre midfield, I don't think he feels the game. I don't think he feels what's required. He does what's right for him. And what I'm seeing at the moment is a real disconnect between what's required in Arsenal style football, which is quick movement, great body preparation, moving it off one touch, compared to how he sees the game in centre mid. And I looked at the 3 boys on a contract, right? 2018, Ox, him, and Jack. I actually think Ox has attributes that are quite important to a football team, how he drives past people. His confidence isn't great. He's been inconsistent, but I think he's improving. I think Jack plays what I call Arsenal football. He's got wing mirrors on. He can pop that ball around the corner. He's incredible talent. His problem has been getting those legs moving. And I think of the 3 of them, Ramsey could be the best player of all, but I wonder if he fits Arsenal.
That's why I asked the question.
And I tell you what, we're trying to fit him in, but then I'm asking my question, well, actually, why are we trying to fit him in? It's been a while now since he's delivered. Why are we putting him on a pedestal like this? Has he got to meet us, right? So I actually do feel we need somebody to break out of this group. We've got Theo doing something extraordinary compared to previous years. We've got Ozil, had a bit of a dip, but he's producing. Alexis is carrying the team. We need somebody else. So I don't want to throw, and that person could and should be Ramsey, to come out of the pack and really be that breakout player. But you know what, Geoff? I'm not sure it's going to happen. He's not doing the basics, mate. He's not doing the basics of midfield play.
No, I understand.
Geoff, let me ask you this. We've discussed this quite a lot recently. I mean, to accommodate, we shouldn't really talk about accommodating one player's talents, but to get the best out of Aaron, as Clive has already said, playing him in a possible 3 would benefit us, I think, in a more wholesome fashion. If you look at us when we play with Alexis up front, the modern striker that he is, you've got Coquelin pressing high. You've got Theo running out to in, being that dynamic forward, the lightning, the rapier forward. If we've got someone like Aaron doing that as well, pressing high and being the legs up and down as a third string of the bow, do you think we could get more out of our players? I mean, even off the ball, if Alexis defines the team, and I see people, candidly say Alexis FC, and I know it's a bit of banter, but actually, if you look deeper into it, we're actually becoming defined by him. Like Clive talks about where, Alexis defines us. I read a blog today and it said, or I read a line today and it said, Arsenal haven't changed Alexis, but it's Alexis changing Arsenal. So if Alexis is the man that defines us, should we get the right combination of players around him? I wonder I think Aaron does have a place in that front 6 or whatever you want to call it, front 5, playing him, on that right lane in the 3 amongst the others, and then really sort of like setting that trend, pressing high, breaking fast. We've got direct players that are dribbling, causing chaos, anxiety, and panic in the opposition defence. What do you think?
I'm not. It's a difficult one because I'm not sure. One, he wants to play there. I'm sure he wants to. I think he wants to be a number 10. But he's never going to get in front of Mesut Ozil, and I'm not sure he's going to be able to get a number 10 spot. But even Ozil, if you look at how Ozil's playing now, he's not really playing as a number 10. The assists have gone down remarkably, drastically, and that's not because he's not trying. It's because he's playing a different kind of role, as Clive has alluded to. He's kind of playing like another false 9. Yeah. Yeah, of course, I understand that. He's playing further forward. Yeah. He's more in that final third. But I think Ozil's game is the setting up play. He's very accurate. He sees a pass, can see stuff that others can't. He's just super accurate. And if you take that bit away from his game and ask him to do other things, I'm not sure he's aggressive enough in the final third. I'm not sure he believes in himself enough in the final third. I mean, you see some of the strikes on goal he has, they're not really with any conviction. Do you think I'm fair in saying that?
They're a bit gentle.
It's funny that because, Wenger said, a lot of the players saying in practice, like, he scores any kind of goal you want. So it's interesting that, he doesn't seem to, that doesn't always seem to permeate. It doesn't,
He's calm. He's very calm, but sometimes he looks too calm, And maybe that's just the way he's that languid style. But I don't know. With Rambo, it's a really, really difficult one because he has got all the potential, but it has come at but you've got to take into consideration he's only 4 games back into it now?
Yeah. There's that too.
It's still very, very early, mate. You got to give him time to get up to speed again. And once he just hopefully he don't come down injured again. Once they start playing him every single week. But Wenger likes him. Everyone likes him around the club. So he loves it at Arsenal. So I should imagine that that we'll have to see what happens. And hopefully he plays himself into form.
Okay,
we're going to need him. We're going to need him, G. We really are. I don't think we can go and win what we need to win. Wherever I think of him, we're going to need him to get back to the player he used to be. Because I'm not sure who that breakout fourth player is going to be to get the goals that we need. Right? So, but if he doesn't do it, because a lot of people are really focused on him at the moment, and he needs to really knuckle down, build his play, and get back to basics and build his form back up. Because people's patience is starting to wear really thin, mate.
I'll tell you, here's another question, just moving on from that. Here's another question that me and Clive were talking about beforehand. The right-back situation, Geoff. Bellerin's lame. It's anyone's guess who he's going to play on Sunday and going forward until Bellerin makes a comeback. In your estimation, in your humble opinion, who would you like to see at right-back, and how would it affect the defence as a whole?
I've got a feeling that he might be thinking of converting the Ox into a right back.
Go on,
right-sided
expand,
midfield
please.
Player. Well, and this is no info or anything like that. It's just my own opinion. Because I think that's Bellerin's like that, isn't he? He's like that Barcelona type player. He started as a winger, and we've converted him back into a right back. And a jolly good right back he is. He's still got a lot to learn defensively. He's better going forward than he is defensively. That's quite clear. But he has improved incredibly over the 2 or 3 years that he's been in the first team. And if we haven't got, if Jenkinson, I don't know about Jenks, he looks shit scared every time he gets the ball, the lad. And he's got ability. He's got great athleticism. He's lightning. He's fast. I'm not sure he's the best defender in the world, but he again is still learning on the job, and it's taking him a little bit longer than what we would like. You've got to, you're playing for Arsenal. You've got to do what Bellerin done. You come in.
Yeah, you've got to.
Oh yeah, I know he had one terrible game against Dortmund, but the next game he was the best player on the pitch.
Yeah.
And and that's the improvement you've got to make. Now, when I see Jenks, as much as I love him, Arsenal, he loves Arsenal, blah-de, mate, it's time to step up. We can't hang about. We can't carry passengers anymore. Debussy, it looks like he's gone over the hill now. He'll play 2 games and he'll crash out and break down again. Again, the older they get, that's what tends to happen. You'll get an injury. It'll keep you out for 6 or 7 weeks. You'll come back and subconsciously you're overcompensating, and all of a sudden you had a calf strain or you ripped your calf, and all of a sudden your groin would go on the other side where you're overcompensating. That's what happens when you get old, and it's just a fact of the matter. That's what happened with loads of players. It's a difficult one though, but I do believe, I've got a feeling that he's gonna look. I mean, you've seen him bring the Ox on a couple of times now as a right back. So maybe he sees the Ox as that kind of versatile type player that can come in and do a job. And because he could, if he could get his discipline right and be able to defend correctly, he's got that pace and power and to get him forward quick enough. And once he gets into the opposition half and he's running at you, he causes damage. You know that.
Interesting, Clive. You've given us the Mustafi.
Yeah, well, Mustafi.
The case for Mustafi already.
Yeah,
who
but
else
you know
is
what?
there?
I've changed, right?
Okay,
So Mustafi is he's the best other right back we have in the squad. But he hasn't lost a game playing for Arsenal yet. So I do hear when people say to me, we can't break up the centre backs.
If it ain't broke, don't fix
I can't really argue with them, right? So, but you know what? I saw something last night, and it's only a brief thing on a stream. I didn't go to the game live. I'd love to know what people thought from watching it live. But when Maitland-Niles came on, I thought he looked fantastic. I thought he looked really quick. I thought the ball came through him quite nicely. And I know he's a centre midfielder, and I shouldn't be saying this because he doesn't put another youngster out there in a foreign position. But sometimes, even in a disastrous game like last night, you see a spark or something. And I saw him in the corner, he flicked the ball over someone's head, ran around the other side. He got caught out of position, and he took about 8 yards out of proper Premiership players, not Reading or Forest. And he's just come back and he's just recovered Van Bellerin style. He's really quick. He's got great physique. He's a midfielder, so he's happy on the ball. And I don't underestimate how important fullbacks are to us. We build for our fullbacks very, very quickly. They've got to be good on the ball, secure. He's got to go through them really quick. And when the ball goes to Jenks, I mean, first minute last night, he turned back inside, and I think he almost kicked himself, twisted his ankle. And for that moment, his game was over, really. I think he was carrying the knock. And every time it goes for him, your stomach just turns, because you're worried for him. He's lacking in confidence. He can't turn his body out and go forward. He's just taking the safe options. And if I can see it, the opposition can see it, and they start to play on him and target that channel. And they did it last night, and the goals come from that side, and you just think it's just not working, right? So, West Ham, a strong, robust team. They've got Dimitri Payet on the left-hand side, so maybe it's not the time for to try an 18, 19-year-old like Maitland-Niles. But hey, if it's not him, it's got to be Gabriel, and we just tough it out, right, and go 4 big defenders and see what happens.
No disrespect to Maitland-Niles, but I used to say the same about Giroud when he first burst onto the scene. He looked like a top player. I thought, blimey, he looks like, and even the other kid, who's the other kid? Centre half that we had, the Swiss kid.
Giroud or Senderos?
Giroud, Senderos, okay, yeah. Yes, I beg your pardon. No, I meant Giroud and Senderos, both of them, when they first came in. I think they might have been in that. I think Senderos might have been in that League Cup team.
He was 2007, and Drogba beat him to the header. Correct. Thank you very much. Go home and cry. I remember that one well, Geoff.
Same thing with them. I thought there was 2 really, really promising kids when they come through. I thought, we might have a couple of good kids here. So let's just wait a little bit for Maitland-Niles. But they do say he's a top player in Colney.
I tell you apart from his putting aside his off the field issues with his parents and whatnot, what I like about him, because there's not many kids I watch. I don't really watch the academy football and that, but last season I watched him at Ipswich at times. Watched him for the England under 21s in the summer, and what I see is as a player that can adapt to different situations, different positions. He's been asked to play right wing, he's been asked to play number 8, he's been asked to play defensive midfield. He's been, at Arsenal now, the last couple of games, he's been the other night he was asked to play right back and whatnot. For me, if somebody can adapt to so many different roles, that tells me that this guy's intelligent. He's got a football brain on him. He can follow instruction. Clive, you say a right back has to be quite front-footed. He's aggressive.
He's got a lot. Yeah, he's got a great physique. He's quick, and why I like him, I like players that can move. But when they move, it just looks easy, right? And I like players that can recover. When they recover, it looks smooth. And so yeah, I have a natural bias towards athletic, dynamic footballers, right? So I see him really easily. I remember watching Cesc Fabregas when he was 16. I'm thinking, what's all the fuss about? I don't see slow ballers like him so easily, right? So then I worked out about 2 years later that he was quite good, right? So yeah, it's
he's an interesting one to watch, isn't he? He's an interesting one.
I saw something last night that just surprised me, to make me think, we don't have to do it. We've got experienced players. Holt has played right back a few times. We don't have to do it.
But he's in that mould. He's in that Bellerin mould, Clive, isn't he?
Yeah, I've been watching his career. Yeah. I think he's got something going on. I really do. I don't think he's going to fade away.
So for you, Gabriel then at right back?
Yeah, well, that's what I think will happen, especially as West Ham may go aerial on Saturday. So we'll see.
It'd be interesting though, actually, the West Ham makeup, because I was reading Bilic's comments, and I'm not sure if he's being coy or he's playing mind games, but both Antonio and Cresswell are nursing groin injuries after.
They came off. They both came off last match.
Yeah, and they're critical to how they play, especially if they're playing Carroll, because I think Sacco's out injured as well now. So if Carroll they didn't blood Carroll for the Man United Cup game, because they want to hold him back for the weekend game, and you wonder. I know last season he terrorised us. We didn't have the defenders to cope with him, but most of that was coming from the supply lines. Most of the genesis of the problem was the supply lines coming from wide, Geoff. How important is it that we make sure we stop the supply lines coming from the wide areas if Carroll is playing?
Well, that is it. Prevention rather than cure. If you stop the supply line, he just hasn't got a game. That Andy Carroll, he's just totally out of the game. That is his game. If you knock the ball into him, he's going to fight for it, and 8 out of 10 he'll win, and it's whether or not he scores or not. He has his type of game, and he's very good at that. He hasn't good at anything else apart from fighting for the ball in the box, making a nuisance of himself, and just again creating havoc. You've got to stop the supply to him. So our wide players have got to be very, very disciplined. And just stop the supply. You've got to get really, really tight, and when they pass the ball out wide, you've got to get out to them and make sure they don't, because they're going to play the big long diagonals. Pyatt will be running, buzzing round him. So I don't think Cresswell's going to be fit. He come off last night, didn't he? And he looked like he was struggling, mate. I can't see, not a groin anyway. You can't recover from a groin in 3 days unless they give him an injection. It's at least a week or 2 weeks. So hopefully he won't. I mean, they're going to have a few players out. We'll have a few players out, and it's going to be an entertaining game. I think it'll be a good game. I used to love going to Upton Park. I'm from that manor at the East End, so I used to always love going there. All my pals growing up was all West Ham fans, and I was the only Arsenal fan. So it's always a good place. I've been there this season, at the start of the season, funny enough. I watched West Ham just to go to the stadium, see what it was like against that Astra Zuriglu or whatever it was. I think that was the game they got beat as well. And we should go there. We should be looking forward to go there. It's a nice stadium. You're very, very far away from the crowd. If you're
they haven't settled in yet, have they? Really?
Exactly. It's very difficult. So you can go there and upset them. It's a lovely pitch. Pitch is fantastic. So it'll be should be. They'll look forward to going playing there.
I tell you what, Geoff. Remember last season at half time? I saw you at half time, didn't we? At Upton Park, and we were complaining that we're full of hubris. Our boys were going 2-0 up, and then they started playing the fancy damn football. They didn't do their basics, and we were wondering how we went in at 2-2, didn't we?
Yeah, exactly.
So hopefully that doesn't happen again. Listen, Geoff, Clive, over to you. Dealing with Pyatt as well is going to be, a difficult situation. He's their creative hub. He makes them tick. He defines them just as much as Alexis kind of defines
He's
us.
struggling, He's struggling for form. He's not the same player he was last year, and there's rumours of him wanting to move in January. I watched West Ham last night, actually, while I was watching the Arsenal game at the same time, and they've got a few issues going on. The manager's dropped like a stone. The team is not where it should be. I mean, can you imagine West Ham, all that effort to go into that stadium and they're in relegation trouble? I mean, there's lots of trauma going on in that club, the way the stadium move has been handled. They have changed their formation slightly. They're doing a 3-4-3. They got that going on with fullbacks pushing on and Mikel Antonio coming on the back stick, getting a few headers. That's all they've got, mate. So what they try to do, they try to push you back from wide areas so they can do their crossing game. And they play Kiate in midfield. They have strong centre midfield runners. Not very creative. So they're a running team that play in areas. So, but the difference is between this year and last year with Arsenal, we've got faster defenders who can play higher up, which means we can keep them away from our goal, which completely annihilates them. If we cut their supply and keep them away from our penalty area, then
the defence isn't that different. It's only Mustafi when you look at it.
Yeah, but that's the key thing, isn't it, mate? Yeah. If you take out Mertesacker and put in Mustafi...
Well, no, it wasn't Mustafi. It was Gabriel, wasn't it, last season?
Gabriel. Yeah. Well, we can play... I felt we were a little bit bullied last year. We got bullied deep.
Yeah.
It's just a key thing about playing a higher line, right? And plus, from our angle, we've got very fast forwards, right? And I think if he does play the Oxford, it looks like he might do, given the fact he didn't play him on last night, and he plays Theo and he plays Alexis. That's going to push them back, and I really think we're going to do well. And I actually think we have to, just to stop the crazies and the rumbling that's going on. We've lost one game since August, and it's all gone off, and audio and everyone's come out saying, we need to sort the major out, we need to do this, we need to do that. I just think it's important we don't get momentum with 2 or 3 defeats on a trot, because, with a couple of injuries, it could all turn very, very quickly. So, but if we win and win well, and with City playing Chelsea on the same day, suddenly the table looks slightly different, because one of them's going to lose points. And we've got a decent amount of games coming out. We go to City December the 18th, and if we're in good shape, then the world looks good, yeah?
Indeed.
I think it's important that you go to West Ham, and the first thing you do, you've got to turn up and earn the right. It's a cliche, but you have got to earn the right to play. And eventually, our quality should definitely get hold of the game. And if all things were equal, they play to their best and we play to our best, we should still trounce them 2 or 3. But Arsenal, and West Ham.
It's a London derby.
It's a London derby. It's never ever going to turn out. You can never know what's going to happen. It's a great equaliser. We could be top, they could be bottom, and we'd still struggle against them. We have done in the past, and no doubt we will do in the future again. But I hope we go there and we give a good account of ourselves, because I think if we do that, we'll come away as comfortable winners.
We've got a decent record away at West Ham in the last few years in the league, though, haven't we? I mean, I remember Podolski scoring a winner or something like that a few years ago, and So it's not. I just wonder. I just hope there's no hubris. If we can do the professional job, I think we should be. Geoff, I want to ask you quickly, because you've been there this season. I'm going out there on Saturday. What's it like for the away fans? I mean, there's been a lot of consternation about the makeup of the ground and how it's open, and I've heard how home fans are on the concourse where the away fans are, and you saw what happened with the Chelsea and the Chelsea game and whatnot. I mean, what's it like there?
Well, I heard something today that at the moment, for up to this part of the season, it's cost the taxpayer £400,000 to police it, and West Ham haven't contributed anything to that.
They won't.
No. Which I find amazing. It's incredible, isn't it? But that's another story. I think they've secured off the away end now. I don't think you can drink and meet on the same concourse. I think they've closed the part of it off now, as far as I know. I think they did that with a Chelsea game. I think they changed the setup there. Hopefully they do it again against the Arsenal, because we don't. That's the last thing we want. All the fighting, the aggro. It's just not going to be very good. It is a long way away. I sat on the halfway line. I think I was 23 rows up, and honestly, you're about 60, 70 metres away from the pitch. I'm not joking.
Wow.
Long way away. It's a great view, don't get me wrong, but you are a long way away from the pitch. The atmosphere's okay. They do the bubbles when they come out. They always do. It sounds good, but then it's very much, unfortunately, like the Emirates. As soon as the game kicks off, nothing really goes on,
Right.
The away fans, they're in the, I think it's the Trevor Booking stand, they've called it. Lower tier, and I think they've got a couple of blocks in the upper tier as well. It's right behind the goal. But again, you're 60 metres away, I think. It's a long way away, because you've got that. It's like, obviously, it's an Olympic stadium, isn't it?
Yeah.
You've got the track, and it's a bit weird because you've got seating in front of you. It's like, I don't know what kind of thing it is. They've got
wasn't
that
built for
canvas
football,
thing,
was it? It wasn't built for football, that place.
They've got that canvas thing, It's just a strange old coup, but. It'll be a good experience, hopefully. It's always a good experience if we go there and win, but it's worth going now. I went there and I had a meal early, straight. It's a 2-3 minute walk from Westfields.
Yeah.
So you can go in there.
Amanda would love that, wouldn't she?
Of course. If she can get a ticket. I see she's still scratching around.
Yeah,
for
she's
a
still
ticket,
scratching. Yeah.
But I think it's coming out there as the bastard. Apparently, it's like an hour and a half before you get on the train.
Right.
So I'll pre-warn you.
Yeah.
I don't know how you're going to get there or whatever. I mean, I go on my motorbike, so it doesn't matter to me. I park 200 metres from the entrance.
Yeah.
But it's troublesome getting out of there. But it should be good. I'm looking forward to it. I'll be there.
Important to get the early goal and control the game, and then get their fans off on their backs. And
well, this is it. I think
the
way we play our game is so, especially against teams that come to defend against us and hit us on the break like Southampton. If we'd have scored early last night, it would have been a totally different game. Because they've got to come out, they've got to change their game plan, and the same thing with West Ham. I think they'll just be sitting back, and they'll try and carbon copy what Southampton did the other night, because it works. It's worked for other teams in the past. I think they'll do the same. I think they'll just like to sit in. I bet they're grafting away all this week, trying to get their setup correctly, where they're just sitting in there and try and hit us on the break. I'm not sure they've got that pace up front, have they?
Especially with Sacco out as well.
Yes, there's a few players that they've got out, and I don't think even that Zaza or whatever his name is, I don't think he's blessed with pace. And Andy Carroll's, I think my old mum could run faster than him. She's been gone 7 years, bless her.
Clive, just finally wrapping up with the West Ham thing. I mean, we've got to go and win, haven't we? I mean, it's going to be a different game from the Bournemouth. And Bournemouth tried to football us off the park, and we prevailed in the end. And as Geoff has said, West Ham are probably likely to set up very differently. Slaven Bilic is going to do his tactics homework, and they will probably try and hit us on the counter, I would imagine, depending who they've got available to them. So for you, it's key that we control the game and get the early goal and bring them out, right?
Yeah, it is, right? But I'm actually thinking last night will focus us. We've had a great run. We've had a great run of results. Our form was dropped away slightly in November. There's some tough games, but we didn't get beat until last night. But I'm thinking last night will focus us, and I think we needed that, right? So December's a new month. We've got to go to Northwest, got to go to Everton City in this month. But this one, you're absolutely right. West Ham, it's always a hard game. We don't lose very often there, and I say I'm pretty confident. If we go fast, if we play a fast forward line and get the right balance and also the right bad situation, I don't mind. We've got the players. It doesn't really matter which one we choose. Jenkinson would be my least choice. Going back to West Ham, he knows them, but they know him. So it could be a bit of a concern. So if I would defend strong on that side and play our football and turn it on, right? So I'm pretty confident we're going to do it.
And so your prediction then?
My prediction, I reckon we're going to do that 3-1. We're going to score 3 goals.
Cool. Geoff?
I think we'll win 2-1. I think we'll have a lot of the play. We'll have most of the play, but it'll be a tight one, 2-1.
Good stuff. All right. Thanks very much, fellas. Oh, and before we go, I just remembered, I don't really want to wrap up the pod without, saying a few words on the Chapecoense disaster. I think last night after the game, I don't know how many people saw it, but Gabriel said a few heartfelt words for some of the people there in Brazil. It's a terrible tragedy, wasn't it, guys? Awful thing to happen, wasn't it? I mean,
it's just unthinkable, and it must be terrible for everyone surrounding the club and every all the families and everything else. They're going away to. I mean, apparently they're only a sort of small club that done really, really well to get that far in the competition, and that kind of thing to happen. It's just tragic, isn't it? Unbelievable.
Clive?
Yeah. Gabriel's words were amazingly mature, actually. Not just about the disaster, but about how we live our lives and how we should say what we want to say to the people that we care about.
Very true.
I mean, it was beyond mature. Right? And I found it very, very moving. The whole thing is very moving. Right? Just the loss of life, the tragedy in itself is. I listened to Gabriel today. I thought, what a mature statement from a young man just after a game, 25 years of age. He managed to capture his words were just brilliant, right? So, and he just sort of really focused on, making sure you tell people that you care about and the people that you care about. Don't leave it till tomorrow. You're never too sure what's going to happen. And I just thought, wow, that's huge, right? So, fair play to him. Fair play to the club that did before the game. And, just very, very sad.
Indeed. Okay, on that note, I'm going to bring the proceedings to a close. Geoff, I really want to thank you for coming on, mate. It's great to have you on again.
It's a pleasure, mate, and thank you very much for inviting me.
No problem. I would say I'd meet you on Saturday, but I'm with Mr. King, so probably best not to. But
Best pal, mate. Best pal.
Clive, as always, I take it you'll be around on the weekend, possibly to talk about the game, and if not, I'll see you next Wednesday, and we'll discuss the Basel game, won't we?
Yes, mate, definitely. Good luck Saturday.
All right. That's been a Gooner Ramble. I'm been Giles. Keep it Arsenal.
Do you require any graphic design work done? A North London agency full of Gooners. Oh, and one lonely Watford fan. We'll be happy to help. Go to www.stonecreativedesign.com and mention Gooner Ramble for a 10% discount on your first project.